I'm Deb Mills-Burns and I served 8.5 years in the Royal Logistic Corps in the British Army. When I left the forces over 20 years ago now, it took me 18 years to engage back into the military community, and that was because as a female veteran we carry a lot of barriers of engaging back into anything really that's related to service. And that might be through the experiences that we've had. It might be a way of all the masking that we've done through service. You know, we don't want to be in a position where we're talking about things that we don't feel comfortable. So only four or 5 years ago, it started when a friend of mine mentioned that there was going to be a female veterans group on over at Everton Football Club, which is really strange because I'm a Liverpool supporter, so you would think that would be another barrier of me not wanting to go. But for some reason I turned up. And when I got there, I almost walked into a room. There was probably at least 100 people in there. And my immediate reaction was to turn on my heels and leave. And as I went to do that, I noticed that my very first corporal from my first posting and his wife, who were like my army mum and dad, were in the room. So I immediately made a beeline, had a conversation with them, and they introduced me to another veteran called Nikki, who was leading a programme called Stand By Her. In that moment, I felt totally comfortable. I'd been introduced to someone, and we laughed and joked because we'd been in similar places through service but never met each other. And then I was introduced to the extended group of female veterans, and there was so many common threads amongst us all, whether that be we've been in the same places, we've done the same tours. I think a couple of us have actually been on the same plane to Iraq prior to the war starting. So it was just that immediate connection. And I remember one of the first sessions that we had, we were all introducing ourselves, and I was like, hi, I'm Debbie, I've got a swinging brick. I can't remember the last time I cried. And fast forward about 3 weeks, we were doing a spoken word programme, and within half an hour of creating a spoken word piece, and I was talking a lot about my son, who's autistic and non-verbal. And when I got to that point in the piece, my emotions got the better of me. And in that moment, I could hear two of the girls in particular saying to me, come on, Debbie, you've got this, keep going. And it wasn't just the words, it was the strength that I could feel in that room, the strength that they were giving me to be able to continue with that poem. And I did, I finished it with a couple of extra tears. And then from that moment, really, I just found my sisterhood. I found a group of girls who, you know, I always say one of the most, I don't know why this is something with me, but one of the biggest things, like I don't even know what rank any of those girls were because it was never a conversation. And yet that was always a barrier for me, because when you'd walk into, you know, a breakfast club or whatever it might be, one of the first questions you'd always got asked was, oh, what did you serve in and what rank were you? And still to this day, you know, 4 years later, I don't even know what rank they were because we never had to have that conversation. And where it's led me now on the journey that I'm on, from going a totally closed off person in terms of emotion, in terms of help seeking, is that I'd had a 20-year very successful career in the security industry after leaving service. I worked my way up from a frontline security officer to a chief commercial officer, and throughout those 20 years I can't say that I had a good career in terms of salary, promotions, but what was missing throughout those whole 20 years was any kind of feeling of true belonging and any kind of feeling of purpose. And Nikki, the girl who ran the project on Stand By Her, said to me only 9 months ago, there's a job, Deb, that I know you would be amazing at. And at this point anyway, I'd kind of had enough of the security industry. I was, you know, at that turning point where I thought I'm going to have to start again. I went along to the interview at Armed Forces Community HQ, and I sit here today as the partnership manager for Merseyside and Cheshire. And what I've been able to uncover in the last 9 months of working there is like who actually Debbie is. So I've been running projects on spoken word where we're exploring trauma experience through spoken word, and through my own spoken word, I've been writing things where I've kind of thought to myself, oh, there's something there, you know, there's something there that I need to seek help for now before I get to any later stage. So last year I got a diagnosis of ADHD, which comes as no surprise to anybody who knows me. But most recently, I kind of reached out to my doctors and asked for an assessment on PTSD. And I'm currently in those stages now of being assessed. And so many things have come to light. And I'm just on the cusp of starting some therapy. But the main reason why I've done this, and the reason why I want to share my experience, is that I was that person who was totally closed off to the outside world, because when I was serving in the army, you're always taught not to share your feelings, you know, not to go and seek help. And that sticks with you when you leave service. And it's took me 18 years to get to that point, to be able to actually step into a space that I felt was safe. And now, where I am at Armed Forces HQ, I don't feel like I'm part of, you know, a company. I feel like, it sounds like a cliche, but I feel like I'm with my tribe. I know that I've got people there who I can present any day as Debbie, and I'll be accepted as Debbie. And that's why I feel I've been able to get the strength to now uncover all those other little bits that need uncovering now. And my key message to everybody is find that safe space. You know, there's so many organisations out there who can help, Armed Forces Community HQ being one of them. But that's where you'll find your safe space, and that's where you'll be able to get the strength and the courage to unravel yourself, what I call unraveling yourself, and find who that true person is. And I always explain it, it's like I just feel like I've got constant noise in my head, and I thought that was ADHD. When I got the diagnosis of ADHD, I obviously got coaching mechanisms, and when I started to use them, there was still a bit of noise there. So just find that space and make that first step, because once you do, I can only tell you from my own experience, but you start to find a little bit more about who you really are, and that gives you the strength and the courage to go on and be in life whatever you want to be.